Hello and welcome to The Green Jumper, and in this first episode of the new season you'll hear from one of the most famous political figures of the last 50 years. He's the former Chancellor and Home Secretary Ken Clarke, now Lord Clarke of Nottingham.
Take Derby and Nottingham to the League Championship, and then to go on to take Nottingham Forest to 2 European Cups was utterly remarkable.
There's the extraordinary story of what happened when Cloughie held protests outside the then MP's constituency office.
And every week he'd turn up with a Labour group, different banners, different calls every week, but they shouted and marched for a few bit and then went away again. And I actually spoke to him at the ground and asked him to stop it, saying the trouble was it intimidated my constituents who were trying to explain their problem to me.
Yes, they were on opposing sides of the political divide, but were on the same team when it came to football.
My ranking as the best football manager the country has seen, certainly since the war.
Plus, we'll be marking the 21st anniversary of brianclough.com and turning back the clock to the year 2000.
A special website dedicated to Nottingham's best-known football figure is being launched today. brianclough.com features exclusive pictures, quotes and sound bites from old Big Ed.
Yes, it's amazing to think it's 21 years since the launch, and there's more memories of that to come. But first, my guest is Ken Clarke, a former Father of the House of Commons, of course. Lord Clarke, as he's now known, is a lifelong Nottingham Forest supporter. Thanks very much for joining us today.
No, pleasure. Delighted to do so.
As a Reds fan, how lucky do you think Forest were to have someone like Clough who came in and absolutely transformed the club's fortunes?
We were extremely lucky. We got him on the rebound. He was the best manager we've had since the war, I think, football manager in this country, judging by his results with club football. If you and I had a go at managing Manchester United, we might get the odd trophy with all that money and all the rest of it. But Brian Clough, first of all, managed Derby County, a perfectly ordinary, middle of the way sort of Midlands club, and took those to the League Championship, fell out with them, was moved to Leeds with the owners of Leeds thinking he'd be marvellous. The players didn't like him. He lasted a few weeks at Leeds, came back to us on the rebound, and I think what gives Brian his reputation as my ranking as the best football manager the country has seen, certainly since the war, is he promptly took Nottingham Forest, another perfectly ordinary, sometimes second division, sometimes first division team, to the League Championship as well, to take Derby and Nottingham to the League Championship, and then to go on to take Nottingham Forest to 2 European Cups was utterly remarkable. And it was all by accident. It's because he fell out with Derby and then Leeds and came to us on the rebound.
Politically, he was in the opposite corner to you
on
that side of things. But what did you admire about him personally and the way he went about it?
He didn't fall out over politics. He was a keen supporter of the Labour Party. At one point, he started holding demonstrations outside my constituency office on Saturday mornings when I got a surgery, and I was often going to the Forest match in the afternoon. And every week he'd turn up with a Labour group, different banners, different calls every week, but they shouted and marched for a few bit and then went away again. And I actually spoke to him at the ground and asked him to stop it, saying the trouble was it intimidated my constituents who were trying to explain their problem to me. And some of the old ladies got quite frightened by it. And I said, so pack it in, Brian. If you don't, the team's not doing well at the moment. I'll try and get some supporters together and we'll hold a demo outside the ground before we come in. And matches, but anyway, we joked about it. And he did actually agree to stop for a month or two. Every time I held a surgery, he was there with marching along the head of another demonstration. But he stopped it. So we didn't fall out. He was once offered the Labour candidature for Loughborough. He could have become a Labour MP if he'd won Loughborough, which was quite winnable for the Labour Party. He very wisely decided not to, because he wouldn't have enjoyed being an MP. And it'd been quite entertaining having Brian there for a bit, but I think he'd have found the whole place utterly bewildering, and it wasn't him.
Do you think he could have been England manager? Should he have been England manager?
I think he was a very good contender for England manager. Again, there was the problem as to which players would react properly to his extremely aggressive style, whether that would have worked with some of the more sensitive ones. I'm afraid it's perfectly clear that I think the England authorities then, you had to be a bit of a public figure. You had to be able to handle sort of public appearances and so on. And they thought Brian was a bit too rugged and would, cause constant sensations with the press with the things he said. And I think that's the reason he was never appointed. It's to know how he'd have gone along for England, but he was certainly a good enough manager, good enough football coach and guide to have been up to the standard of running England. You never know what might have happened.
And when you were in government, he wanted some help in getting a foreign player over to play for Forest.
Yeah, well, another person I knew very, very well, with the same sort of reason, was Roddy Scott, the manager of Roddy Scott's jazz club in England. And the two of them used to approach me when they'd got foreign people in to come and play, American jazz players or European football players, and neither of them was very good at the paperwork. They made a mess of arranging the work permit. Yeah, and Brian did get me in once, and he got some Scandinavian player who he wanted. I was at the Home Office. I was Home Secretary. I had to apply to the Home Office, and he hadn't filled it in properly. So this player was probably hadn't left midfield, but he got a standard letter back from the Home Office. A girl who was working her first day as a civil servant or in this department sent him the standard letter you could get if you just said, "Can I employ a Swede?" And she said, "Dear Mr. Clough, thank you for your application. I'm afraid you will have to satisfy us that this vacancy could not be filled by any British applicant. The best evidence you can give us will be to advertise the job 3 times in your local newspaper. And if you're unable to get a British applicant, then apply to us again." So Brian, I think I went to see him at the ground, and he was carrying on a story, so Miss whatever her name was saying that he should fill his vital role at left midfield by getting some unemployed lad who answered a small ad in the Nottingham Evening Post, and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And I calmed him down and explained that he should have made it rather clearer that this was the person getting it. In fact, this Scandinavian had played. You could get a work permit for a footballer if he was of international standard. And this Swede, I think he was, had played 2 or 3 times for Sweden. So I managed to sort out Brian's work permit by getting it referred to somebody in the Home Office once he made more clear who the person was you were getting in and why there were grounds for a work permit. So there we are.
Yes.
It was just Brian carrying on his slightly disorganised way and encountering a very inexperienced young civil servant who sent him the standard letter.
Yes, well, at least it all got sorted in the end by the sounds of it.
Sorted in the end.
Yes. Now, obviously, you've supported Forest for decades, and, the glory years of Clough were just part of that. But
Quite unexpected, yeah.
You've seen the ups and downs, haven't you? Even way back to the 59 FA Cup final.
Yeah, well, I started going when I was about 7, just after the war with my granddad. Started going regularly. I've been going pretty regularly ever since, really. I've been going for over 70 years. And we were a very nondescript club. We were doing better in the league than Notts County in those days, although my granddad used to we both went to Forest one week and County the next, which I still do.
Yes.
I decided when I was a little lad I was a Forest supporter, I think because they got such an unusual name, Nottingham Forest. But most people in Nottingham were supporters of Notts County, who got some big international players of the day playing in their last season or 2 in Notts County. County were in the 3rd Division South, and we were at the bottom of the 2nd Division, but we got relegated. Either the first season I watched them or quite early on, and played second fiddle to Notts County with both of us in the 3rd South. Now, coming on to your question, this was so removed. I mean, the idea that these two little provincial clubs would both, in my lifetime, wind up in the First Division, and that Cloughie would take Forest to the First Division Championship. You know, if as a little lad I had dreamt of such things when I was watching my football team, I'd have been regarded as very entertainingly, off the rails, quite ludicrous.
Yes. It's hard. Would have been hard to believe, really.
But we were a very ordinary team after the Second World War, although,
yes.
Funny enough, I can remember more the names of the players playing then than practically any time since. It's that sort of thing. And
do you think now, looking back, particularly since those Cloughie times, Forest was spoilt by the genius of Brian Clough?
Yeah, I think people have adjusted to the fact that they were great while they lasted. I think we are. We're in danger of becoming like many clubs, where all the supporters now, all of us go on about, remember the great days with Brian and all that. And we start reminiscing about the people he brought in and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think most Forest supporters realise we were very, very lucky to have him. We were lucky with a combination of circumstances that made it possible. That actually he brought on some local lads who, we were lucky again to turn up. Viv Anderson, people like this. We got to be careful not to keep saying, "Oh, do you remember how it used to be? How wonderful it was?" And get used to the fact we're back to being perfectly reasonable Midlands team, like Derby, like Leicester, who sometimes are in the Second Division, sometimes in the First Division when we had a good year. Leicester are the ones having the remarkable time at the moment. They're having the nearest equivalent Leicester are going to have to our golden years, but I can't see anybody taking Leicester to a European Championship or anything of that kind.
Who were your favourite players? Did you have one when Clough was manager? No?
I never really have had one favourite player.
You couldn't single one out?
I couldn't single one out. Be unfair, at least, because I occasionally meet some of them to the committee room at Nottingham Forest,
yes.
And one or two of them are still in there.
Yes.
Great guys, the ones who are in there. Occasionally I get them reminiscing about Clough.
Obviously, with COVID, you haven't been able to go to matches. Are you hoping that you'll be able to get back?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm yearning to get back to going to see football on Saturday as I usually do. And so you can't do it for over 70 years without feeling a bit lost when suddenly you find that Saturday afternoon doesn't mean football anymore, particularly at the City Ground.
Do you think Forest stand any kind of chance of getting into the Premier League in the next few years? Or do you think, they'll always be...
we're going through a few humdrum seasons at the moment. We got the playoffs not too long ago, didn't we? Was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? We should. We've got the resources. We've got the sort of club that can get into the Premiership. Now, nowadays, got the Premiership in a good year. I can't see winning the Championship will be utterly amazing because there's so much big money in the hands of the, half a dozen world-class clubs that I'm afraid the days when Ipswich Town could win the Championship and Nottingham Forest and all these people, you never know. We can only dream, but that's unlikely. But no, I go along when I see them at the moment with hopes that we might get ourselves back into the Premiership, and also with hopes that if we don't, we can avoid dropping down to what I still call the Third Division. But I think one day we'll have a few seasons in the Premiership again. I think Derby and ourselves are doomed now to go up and down like that with a few years in the Premiership every now and again, unless, of course, one or other of us finds another Brian Clough.
Which is fairly unlikely, I guess.
There aren't many people like him, I must admit.
Well, thank you, Lord Clarke, for joining us today. It's been wonderful hearing your memories and your opinions on things now.
Thank you for getting me going on talking about my favourite football club and the greatest manager of a football team that I've ever encountered.
All the best. Thank you.
All the best to you. Bye.
And I'd love to hear your memories of Cloughie, whether you met him or remember a particular match. Just email me at youngman@brianclough.com and I'll give it a mention. As I said earlier, we're also marking the 21st anniversary of brianclough.com with a look back at how the launch was reported before the days of social media. It was Tuesday the 8th of August 2000 when BrianClough.com was launched in a blaze of publicity.
You either love him or hate him, but one thing's for certain, Brian Clough has many fans out there. But one of our staff here at BBC Radio Nottingham is so mad on the former Forest manager that he set up a website dedicated to the great man himself. I think he wrote that bit.
As well as headlines like On Me Web Sun in the Sun newspaper and Cloughie finds the net in the Middlesbrough Gazette, there was coverage on radio news bulletins and breakfast shows.
Now, mad or what? Marcus Alton, not only is he daft enough to work for the BBC, he's also absolutely crazy about Brian Clough, so much so that he has set up a website.
Marcus Alton, who's 33 and lives in Retford, sees old Big Ed as a national treasure that must be, well, treasured.
Now, it's called BrianClough.com. It's unveiled, as it should be, really. It's unveiled today, and Marcus joins me now. Morning.
Good morning.
A special website dedicated to Nottingham's best-known football figure is being launched today. BrianClough.com features exclusive pictures, quotes and soundbites from old Big Ed.
And do your bosses at the BBC know about this interest of yours?
Yes, they do.
Have they called for medical reports or anything? Are you still okay?
It's under review. No, I think they're chuffed as well because they've been covering it here in Nottingham and in Derby, of course, where he was manager of Derby County for many years.
So what is it that makes Cloughie so great for you?
Well, he's such a charismatic figure, isn't he? Outspoken, hugely talented, a legend not only in Nottingham but around the world, I suppose, for what he achieved at Forest. And probably those achievements will never be repeated again because, the nature of football has changed over the years. He took a team out of the second division and made them the champions of Europe. And he's such a great figure, isn't he? He comes out with wonderful quotes and... at any opportunity I can pay tribute to him, I will. People can also email their own tributes, and there's an automatic email link with a suitable address, youngman@brianclough.com, which is quite fitting given his favourite expression.
He's called it to you a few times as
that's
well.
That's right, yeah, and other things probably.
Yeah, well, probably.
And it's www.brianclough.com. And I'm sure you have great big plans for it. Marcus, thank you very much.
And all these years on, there are quite a few more pages than the 14 or 15 that it started out with. And of course, you can email me at youngman@brianclough.com with your memories. One man who did that is Brian Gibbs from Brighton. And he says he got to know Brian and his two lads very well during his time at Brighton. He was a great man, he says. His manager's table was full of things, and he said I could pick whatever I liked. I picked 2 Albion badges, which I still have. This is just one of the memories of Brian, a great guy. Thanks to Brian Gibbs for getting in touch there, and if you'd like to share your recollections, then just email me at youngman@brianclough.com. Hope you can join me next time when we'll have more memories of the great man in the green jumper.